Good afternoon from Sweden and welcome to the final day of the Dept Talks Live, the Customer 360. My name is Tim de Kamper. I'm Director e-commerce at Dept. I focus on helping brands re-platforming and growing their online business online. At Dept, we unite creativity, technology and data. We are with roughly around 2,000 people globally represented in 13 countries. Now, during the past few days, we have been exploring how leading global brands have gone over the transformation and prepare for the future customer. Today, we'll discover how that e-commerce transformation worked out for a global brand known to us all. It's a pleasure for me to welcome Benjamin Davis, who's the head of e-commerce projects within GANT.
Thank you so much, Tim, for having me. Thank you.
So, Benjamin, can you introduce yourself and tell a little bit about your involvement of the e-commerce business within GANT?
Absolutely. So, as Tim mentioned, my name is Benjamin Davies, and I'm the head of global e-commerce projects at GANT. I've been in e-commerce now for around 10 years, originally from the UK, and worked with some of the leading UK high street brands. And a few years ago, I kind of made the move to Stockholm just to try something a little bit different, where I've now been working at GANT for the last 6 months on the replatforming project.
So moving from the UK to Stockholm, how was that for you personally? What was it like to be here in the Nordics from the whole year round?
Yeah, so very different move from the UK to Stockholm. Work-life balance, absolutely fantastic. But as I'm sure you're going to see tonight, the getting dark at about 4 or 5 o'clock is going to take a hit on you very shortly. It's a very different setup to what we got back home.
I can imagine. I can imagine. So, what made you decide to start working for GANT?
Yeah, so it's some people might call me a bit crazy, but there was a replatform project that I saw that actually it looked quite interesting. I've done a couple of replatform projects to date. Some people might think I'm quite crazy, but it fitted really well within my remit. And I thought that I need another challenge whilst I'm over in Stockholm. And GANT found like the perfect brand for me personally as well.
Okay. So talking about GANT, can you tell us a little bit about what's GANT's heart and soul? So what it makes brand or GANT as a brand different than some other competitors?
Absolutely. So for those that don't know GANT, we are a premium lifestyle brand and really the future of American sportswear. We've been kind of the founders of Preppy Fashion since 1949. And really, we make clothes for kind of the curious and the courageous. And sustainability is really at the heart of everything we do.
Okay. Now, a lot of brands have been suffering last 1.5 or 2 years over the pandemic. Some other brands have been, let's say, very successful during the pandemic. How was the pandemic perceived for GANT? How did it impact GANT's business, both online as well as offline? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so the pandemic has been a crazy period for the last 2 years for a lot of retailers. But GANT as a whole has adapted quite quickly to the new kind of ways of working. Even now, this is kind of the first time of meeting kind of Dept in person. And during what's been a huge replatforming project, the teams have had to work in a virtual way very, very quickly. Something that the business weren't prepared for, but moved, very, very quickly. We've had to kind of adapt a lot of job roles and specs within the company. So we've seen a lot of our, say, visual merchandisers now kind of take a bit more involvement in the e-com online merchandising, where now they're kind of quite heavily involved in, say, the day-to-day running of e-com as well as merchandising in store.
Yeah. So it was a big transition for GANT as a company, of course, but for a lot of employees personally as well. I can imagine that it strengthened the online, the omni-channel experience and importance.
Yeah, and I think as all brands have a huge e-commerce focus, it was really the pandemic that kind of ensured that everyone had that at their highest priority and things were moving a lot more quickly than say they would in a normal kind of day-to-day setting.
Yeah. Now GANT does have a very strong online presence, obviously. Could GANT be seen as an early adopter on, let's say, the e-commerce field? So how long was it that GANT does have an online presence and selling the products online?
Yeah, so I mean, in all honesty, we weren't kind of the early adopter of kind of e-com. We've been around since kind of 2010, so it's by no means the first. But what I would say is that we do move a lot more quicker than other brands may move. I think it's a testament to the replatforming project. In the last kind of 9 to 10 months, we've managed to replatform the majority of our markets onto a new platform. Projects like these would normally take a couple of years, but what we've achieved, we've understood that this needs to happen quite quickly and successfully.
Yeah. GANT was running its e-commerce business previously on a platform called Phoenix. Can you tell us what made GANT decide to start working with Sales Commerce Cloud and move essentially to a new platform?
Yeah, so Phoenix, it was a platform that we really developed in-house with our skills and developers. So we were really growing their roadmap. Any kind of functionality that we needed, we was implementing. And it took a lot longer to kind of get to where we wanted to be as a business. And because it started off, as I said, in 2010, it's no longer a sustainable model for our business, and we are growing very quickly. So it's quite clear that we needed a platform that was not just growing with us, but was one step ahead of us, and really aligned our digital roadmap. So it felt like quite a natural change to re-platform during this time.
Yeah. And could you say that, let's say, Sales Commerce Cloud did live up to the expectations, and if so, to what extent?
Yeah, I mean, Commerce Cloud absolutely has lived up to the expectations. I mean, we've only been on the platform for kind of less than a year across our markets, but kind of out of the box, it has worked quite well. Kind of just some of the basic functionality, which you were seeing, kind of search and recommendations and AI, that was available from kind of the get-go once we had migrated. And just to kind of get to that stage on Phoenix is something that we had to develop. So let's say from the get-go, it's been available.
Okay. And naturally, I can imagine you also have some optimizations, so recommendations for Salesforce to make if you were the decision maker in determining the roadmap for the coming 1-2 years. So what kind of things would you say, well, these are the things that we as a customer and running our business in Sales Commerce Cloud could see that could be improved or added?
Yes, I think one big thing for us is really kind of user experience. Commerce Cloud is a huge platform and it does things very well. But I would say I've been using the platform for now 4 or 5 years in various companies. And what's quite clear is how to do those things isn't quite as straightforward as what people have hoped and what they're used to. So I know it's something that Salesforce are working with, but from kind of the day one, you need a lot of onboarding. And sometimes that can be kind of seen as a frustration for some of the end users when they're so kind of used to doing things their way. When a new platform comes on board, it can seem quite daunting on how to use some of these features and functionality.
Yeah.
And then I would say from a data perspective, migrating data was actually one of the hardest parts of the platform migration. And now what we're kind of seeing is really the exporting of data isn't always in the right format that we were used to. And I guess that's kind of a business change that we need to adapt to. But also the expectation was that we could kind of just keep our day-to-day without minimal change, but that's not always the case.
Yeah. Okay, that's very interesting. Now we have been replatforming GANT, starting off with the DACH region, obviously, and shortly after we went live in the DACH region, GANT felt the need to do a redesign of the let's say the initial templates that we've built. What exactly were the reasons for doing a redesign, and what were the goals of that GANT wanted to achieve with the redesign?
Yeah, so this was really our opportunity to really test the platform and also bring the brand's goals into reaching kind of a younger demographic. And we kind of saw this as an opportunity to refresh the brand and really kind of live up to what we stand for. On the previous platform, we kind of felt that the design and the brand wasn't reflected in the best possible light. And we kind of saw that this was an opportunity to say, hey, let's kind of start again and let's really show kind of where we've come from and our roots.
Yeah. Now, obviously, for any brand, it's very important that you connect to your audience naturally. And social media for a lot of brands play an important aspect in that. How important are social media for GANT, and to what extent is GANT leveraging the power of influencers, for example?
Yeah, I mean, social media, as it is for all brands, it is a huge part of the marketing strategy. But I wouldn't really say that influencers are kind of the main goal of the strategy. We do need to reach our kind of younger demographic, and one of the ways through that is by social media and influencers. But at GANT, we're a lot more selective in kind of the influencers that we choose. They need to really resonate with the brand and go through kind of that approval process. So it's not so much about kind of numbers and kind of the reach that the influencers can give us. It's a lot more about whether they really do work for us and tell the brand in the light that we would like it to be.
Yeah. Okay. A bit connected to that. Just last week, GANT launched a new campaign, a new brand campaign. Can you tell us a bit about the expectations of the brand campaign, the goals that it had, and what GANT wanted to achieve with it?
Yeah, so the new campaign was slightly different to what we normally do, whereas the kind of metrics you'll see within 1 to 2 days. The recent brand campaign was more about brand awareness and rejuvenating that brand into who we are today. So it really forms the basis of a long-term strategy rather than it being kind of an overnight success. We see this as kind of this is now the start of really showing again where we've come from and paving the way for the future, really.
Yeah. You mentioned rejuvenating the brand. And to my understanding, that was and still is a very important aspect of the GANT CRM program. Can you tell us a bit about the GANT CRM program as such, and what GANT want to do with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a loyalty program that rolls out currently in the Nordics and the UK. As every loyalty program has, of course, there are the points aspect to it. But for GAN, the loyalty aspect isn't so much getting that 10% welcome bonus from day one, because that's not really how we want to perceive the brand. Joining the GAN loyalty program is more about being a part of the brand and receiving kind of some of those luxury benefits that we're able to offer in store and online, and kind of have that more personal touch to our loyalty program. Of course, as I say, you can collect those points, but it's about believing in the brand as well. So kind of having the opportunity to kind of get that iconic GANT shirt when you reach that certain level of membership. It's about having the ability to have your shirt steamed if you need that, if you're on the way to a meeting or something like that. And really that personal touch in store is kind of about that loyalty program.
Yeah. And that loyalty program is truly omni-channel, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We offer it both retail and online, and we're able to see that 360-degree view of our customers, because we know that our customers don't just shop in that one place. They do shop online, they do shop in store. And by offering that service, we get to know the customer a lot better.
Yeah, and was that? Can you tell us a bit more about that? How that's realized from a technical point of view? The systems that were in place, integrations needed to achieve that omni-channel CRM program.
Yeah, from a technical perspective, so we don't offer the full CRM package in all our markets that we operate in, simply because of the time and investment required to integrate various retail systems across our portfolio. Isn't something that happens overnight. But in the markets that we do have it, the integration is working there, both for retail and online.
Yeah. And so, what strategy does GANT have to increase its customer loyalty base?
So really, we do want to kind of reach out to our customers again on that personal level. So as I say, it's not about kind of getting that customer in, getting that discount and signing that email address up. It's getting to know that customer, knowing their preferences, knowing their styles, and then that in turn can influence the kind of the way that we merchandise and market our brand as well.
Yeah. Okay. And apart from the CRM program, there's a lot of other things that GANT needs to take into account, of course. Can you tell us something about GANT's digital roadmap for coming 1-2 years? So what are the things that GANT is focusing on and that we can expect to have in place?
Yeah,
after 2
absolutely.
years?
So from a marketing perspective, we are going to heavily focus on the digital marketing channel. We obviously see there is a huge amount of growth there for us within kind of the next year or so to offer that endless aisle approach. So really allowing that customer to come into one of our smaller stores, see the range. If we don't have their size, letting the store colleagues kind of walk them through the ability to buy online with one receipt, one payment method. And we see that as such an important kind of aspect to that omni-channel journey, that we're not currently able to offer in the best possible light.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Salesforce Commerce Cloud did have previously Site Genesis for the people who were, let's say, involved in that, and refactored later to a thing called Storefront Reference Architecture. Now, Salesforce Commerce Cloud is coming with something new. It's called PWA Kit, or Progressive Web App Kit. And GANT has shown interest in that, isn't it?
Yeah, we do see a lot of kind of a strong use for PWA. We think that there is a huge need for that. We get asked quite a bit, why doesn't GANT have an app? And at the moment, we see it as a channel that we don't need to manage two separate channels and two separate sites. And eventually, with the help of Salesforce and their new architecture, we can really streamline that process even further, getting a lot more personal to the customer. So we're aiming to kind of use the standard kind of push notification, which is a huge part of having an iOS or an Android app, right from the same system that we're going to be developing today. We're kind of hoping that in terms of optimization, speed and performance, that we really can offer that customer a smooth journey without kind of interference. So it might be that we're able to offer online and offline mode straight from the mobile site, something that we're not able to do today.
Yeah. Okay. Would you have any advice for the audience in terms of building a brand online presence and connecting to your customers online? So what advice and recommendation would you have for the audience?
So I would say one of the biggest things is really that you do need to know your local markets and speak to the people that are in those local markets. For us, we are at Benefit that we are a truly global brand, and we do have partners across the world, and they are able to influence a lot of decisions that we make within GANT. It's very easy to kind of have this mindset of what you want to be, but if you're not asking people what they actually need, you're never going to reach that goal. So I say it's hugely important to kind of have that local mindset.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Now, in this live stream, there's an opportunity for the audience to come over with questions for you, Benjamin. Let's see if we already have some questions coming in through the chat. I do have two already here. The first one is GANT is a clothing brand that has been out there for a while. How come and what mindset did GANT have to stay successful?
That's a good one. So one of kind of GANT's mindset is the never stop learning aspect. Kind of throughout the whole brand kind of lifetime, we never kind of just sit back, accept what's going on, and take that for granted. We're always kind of developing both kind of in-house and with our creatives to kind of keep on learning. And it's a huge part for GANT, and it's something that everyone kind of appreciates within the brand as well. We do have a very strong backing from kind of our group, where kind of during the pandemic, for example, a lot of brands would have panicked, did marketing tactics and discounted quite heavily. But for us, it was never about kind of just rolling off high price discounts to try and get that revenues up. We saw it as an opportunity to kind of take a stand back, see where we are, and roll out a more kind of tactile kind of marketing plan. So I think that's a testament to kind of how GANT has kind of been going on for so long.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's brilliant. This is a funny question in the sense that customers asking, or somebody from the audience, which store is most successful in terms of GANT revenue? Is that a web shop or is it retail?
Well, so I mean, at GANT we don't really see kind of the web shop and the retail as two separate channels. We see them as that omni-channel approach. So in-house, of course, we know that the stores and online operate have two different kind of sale models, but actually from a brand perspective, it is just one channel. So we don't really differentiate in that cause.
Yeah, makes sense. Or you just don't want to answer the question. Referring to that smooth journey for the customer, how do you ensure that the digital experience is not intrusive?
But it's always being open and upfront with the customer. I mean, the customer knows that when they are giving us their information, that we are going to be using that to tailor their experiences. But it's about having that dialogue, and especially when we've got that CRM piece in store, that we have our store colleagues that can really explain why we're asking this information. And it's not just please put your email address, your postal address, and we'll send you something. It's really explaining to them that the only way that we're able to give you this luxury experience is if you work with us and give us some of that information. And from what we've seen within our stores, our customers are happy to provide that because they know that level of service that they're going to receive by giving that information.
Yeah. Okay, very good. We have one question here. What are your top recommendations to use technology to connect with customers for traditional brands?
I think the first thing is really user testing and identifying kind of what customers are comfortable using. From a brand perspective, again, it's all very well to say that this is what we're going to be implementing without actually finding out what our customers are comfortable using and then kind of learning from that. If that kind of answers the question.
I think so.
But please, if it doesn't.
Yeah. All right. That seems to be the last question from the chat. Ben, it was a pleasure for me to have this conversation and to talk about GANT as a brand and its online presence and how it's connecting to customer. I hope the audience enjoyed it just as much as I did. And I want to thank the audience for being present with us and hopefully speak soon.
Thank you so much, Tim. Very nice.
Yeah.